this is just not another episode. This is the last episode that we are doing for 2024. What, according to you, was a destination that was like a rising star of 2024?
That is Georgia. This is a country that has been making wine for 8,000 years. It's supposed to be the first place, the cradle of wine.
2024, and look at kid-friendly destinations.
I would name Singapore as the recipient of this award for a kid-friendly destination.
The top beach destinations of 2024 for you.
The beaches of Bali. Take a boat and go to Gili Islands. And then you're in this fantastic beach with the water is so clear. That always kind of remains as one of my topmost beach destinations.
What, according to you, was the top corporate destination of 2024?
That is Dubai. You could be in Burj Al Arab and have a completely high-end private venue. You can have your luxury 4x4 cars and go off into the desert. And it ticks off everything that you want to do for an incentive. So, start planning your 25 holiday right now.
Hi everyone, welcome to another episode of Travel, Explore, Celebrate Life. Well, this is just not another episode. This is the last episode that we are doing for 2024. And because this is the last episode, we decided to change things up a little bit. We decided to create an episode which we are calling Wrapped 2024, an episode where we are going to discuss the top things, the top destinations that probably get awards that Sunila and I will give it. So we are calling it that. Now, Sunila, 2024 was an incredible year for all of us. Before I get into travel, we had Raya come into our lives.
Yes.
And the moment she came into our lives, just like how every parent goes like, this person is going to become an engineer, this person is going to be a doctor. My mom looked at Raya and told her that by the age of 5, you're going to do 25 countries. By the age of 10, you're going to do 50 countries. And over the last 6 months, we have actually done that. And I was just looking at my travel stats for the year. And if I were to just pull them up, I can see 46 days of travel, 9 total trips, visited 6 different countries, 14 cities visited. And if I think about just distance traveled in terms of the plane journeys that I have, and why do I know this number? I'm just a nerd. So that was 59,180 kilometers that I flew, right?
Wow.
So I'll start the episode by just asking you, how many trips did you make? How many countries did you visit?
I don't have stats like you do. I'm crazy. I have to go back and look at my photos and start listing. And that's what I was doing. And I've been to, I think, 10 countries. I had a lot more trips, of course, somewhere in India as well. Some were really long and some were super short. Some were new, but most were to places I've been before. So, my journey towards the 100 countries is still on track, but paused for a little.
How many countries are you at?
I haven't checked recently, but I know it's more than some 80 or 85. So I have to go back and I will take up our own game today and try and put a number to it. So I have a goal for next year.
Hopefully 2025 is when you complete.
I hope so. I will plan for it.
Countries.
Yes.
Okay.
If not 25, 26, but there were some really exciting countries, some very long trips. But I went to about 10 countries and all across the globe. So that was fun.
Awesome. So without wasting any time, let's get on with today's episode. So guys, how we are doing today's episode is the great podcasting team at Veena World has come up with different types of categories, categories or themes that, we would like to talk about destinations with. And for each category, I'm going to ask Sunila what her pick is, and I'm going to give my pick. There could be a chance that both of us could have consensus and see the same destination, or maybe for all of these categories, we'll get 2 destinations each. But I would really encourage you that if you're watching this on YouTube, Spotify, or just seeing this reel on Instagram, just put it in the comments below what you think was your favorite destination when we think about this theme or category. So with that being said, and with that background, let's get started. And let's look at the first category. Now, the first category we decided,
Neil, it's going to be so tough.
of
You know
course,
how I am. For me, everything is my favorite and everything is something I like. So to select one is going to be like really difficult. So I hope there are lots of categories, or I'm going to start creating categories if, just to push my favorite destinations in.
leave that till the last, and that's one of the reasons why we don't tell you the categories beforehand, because we want the
That's true.
natural thing to come from you. Let's start with the first one, and we felt it was apt to call this category the rising star of 2024. This could be a destination in India or outside of India, but more so a destination that really grew in popularity according to you when it comes to how people travel. And now we are like 2 or 3 years on after COVID, and India is traveling. People are coming into India. Everything's happening. So, what according to you was a destination that was like a rising star of 2024?
I like how you started it because it's the easiest thing for me to answer. And I have a very clear favorite here, and that is Georgia.
Georgia.
Yes.
Well,
And
I also went to Georgia.
You went
this
to
year.
Georgia.
Yes.
I went to Georgia, and it was on my mind for some time. And I would say, like, it is well deserved because this is a country that has been making wine for 8,000 years. It's supposed to be the first place, the cradle of wine.
Yeah.
But we've only really discovered it now.
Yeah.
And even it was my first trip to Georgia. So I went there this year and I saw how beautiful it is, how many things it can offer. You can, if you want snow, there's snow. If you want wine, there's wine, culture, history, a lot of fun, good food. It fits perfectly well whether you're a solo traveler, whether you're going there for an incentive trip. Like I went in to do a recce for an incentive trip, and for groups, for solo travelers, for women. In fact, we planned a 10-day trip for a single lady who went to Georgia after I came back. So we've had incentives going there, we've had single ladies going there, and for I think anyone who's been there has not come back disappointed.
Yeah.
Of course, in terms of hospitality and tourism, the country still has a lot to discover and to maybe meet the international service standards, but I still think like you want to discover something new, the rising stars of Georgia. What about you, Neil?
So, because you mentioned a country outside of India, I would like to come to India. I was just thinking, what according to me were rising stars in India and outside. And I will say a generic one, but I'll tell you why I'm calling it a rising star. It is Kashmir. And Kashmir has always been popular. You can't call it a rising star because people keep going there all the time. But I was reading reports yesterday that Kashmir got a huge blanket of snowfall over the last couple of days. There's going to be a cold wave there. But the reason I'm calling it a rising star is people often used to think of Kashmir as a destination where I go once and I come back and it's done. But if I look at the numbers, if you look at the number of direct flights from different cities to Srinagar, those have increased this year. More and more airlines are flying there. People are not only flying there during the summers, but people now have built this thing where I want to see Kashmir in the summers and also I want to see Kashmir in the winters. You want to see a frozen Dal Lake and you also want to do a shikara ride in Dal Lake. So Kashmir for me was that on the list. Another reason is that skiing became more popular and people started going to Gulmarg during this season. And that is why I think Kashmir for me was a star any which ways, but the rise of the star was even more pronounced than I could have imagined this year. And we sent thousands of tourists, so that was one of the reasons why I decided to put it. So great, I think great start. Georgia and Kashmir are our picks for the rising stars of 2024. Now, Georgia is a place where you can do everything, and we took Raya there. And that's why my request to the team was that I really want to ensure that the second category we take is something related to kids, because every time I travel, I'm searching for kid friendly destinations. Of course, Raya's 7.5 months right now, but we thought that would be apt that the second category we take is kid friendly destinations. Now, you have traveled with Sarah extensively. Now, if I were to take 2024 and look at kid friendly destinations, what do you think takes your award?
I think, Neil, I would name Singapore as the recipient of this award for a kid friendly destination for a lot of reasons. One, direct flights from India. Not a very long flight, not a very short flight.
Yeah.
So, it's kind of 5.5 hours. So it's easy. You have a choice of airlines. Plus, of course, like I mentioned, you can go direct. And the destination itself, you can be busy every day, or you can decide not to do anything and just be on the beach. You have a theme park, you can go stay in a theme park in Sentosa, and you could be busy in Sentosa itself for like 2-3 hours. Universal Studios, Resorts World, and they go on adding newer and newer destinations. And of course, depends on the age of the child. I mean, grown-ups can behave like kids too and get
Yeah.
excited in theme parks, right? So my daughter Sarah today is 21, but if you ask her, do you want to go to a theme park? And she will jump at the opportunity and say, let's go. And she wants to go on every single ride, and she'll drag me with her. So, it appeals to children of all ages. If you want some education and culture, that is also there in Singapore. So there are, so many, the aquarium itself, you can see and learn things as well. But kids can have so much fun.
Yeah.
And the Minions are coming to Singapore.
Oh, yeah?
So Resorts World is going to have Minion Land opening next year. So actually, I'm quite excited. I love the
Clearly.
Minions. So yeah, I think, for the child in you or the child with you, Singapore really tops my list.
I'm actually glad you mentioned Singapore because we have done a full podcast with our friend Renji, or as we call him, RJ, on Singapore called the Singapore Local. So, guys, if you want to listen to that or watch it, we are just going to put a link in the description. So, better check that out. It's about 28 reasons to visit Singapore that we are going to give you over 14 or 15 weeks.
I want to give the 29th.
And what is that?
Disney Cruises is also coming to Singapore. One
When-
more
when-
reason for a child
when-
friendly.
when is that
It should
starting?
be end of 2025.
Okay.
So you can go back to Singapore for the 25th time, and you still will do something that you've not done before. So stay in Singapore, take Disney Cruise. I mean, in our part of the world, this is something really new that
Yes.
Disney is coming in. So imagine the joy when you're on that cruise and the kids watch Disney and Mickey and all the characters. It's
I think
just so
we'll
much
do
fun.
one special episode on Disney
the cruise.
cruises
Yes,
soon.
later on.
So for me, the kid-friendly destination, when I looked at this theme, one destination came to my mind, and that was Abu Dhabi.
Okay.
Short flight.
Yes.
Very short flight, direct flight.
Yeah.
Often
That
people,
clearly seems to be
yeah.
important for both of us, right? So I think that
Exactly,
is
like-
really important.
And with
yeah.
Raya so young, I want to ensure that she gets
Yeah.
there, because I often wonder that if she starts crying, like, will other people around me
Yeah,
get
that's the
disturbed?
first thing I see when I go to an aircraft, especially if you're in the bassinet line, how many children are around you. But this time when I flew back from Singapore, they were all quiet. It was amazing. All the kids were quiet in the flight. So it was a good flight. So yeah,
Yeah,
you're right.
so-
Flight matters.
Flight matters. Another thing is just having one amusement park doesn't cut it.
Yeah.
And Abu Dhabi has gone all out. They have SeaWorld, Warner Brothers, they have Ferrari World, they have Yas Water World. And I often think the Yas Marina circuit is also fun, and we have done a separate episode on that. But the reason I say Abu Dhabi is because I went to SeaWorld last year when Heta and I were pregnant, and we decided to go to the Formula One. And I've often said this, I've said this in our newsletter, I've said this all the time. SeaWorld blew my mind. It was nothing like the SeaWorlds I've seen elsewhere, and it was insane. And I think when I go to Abu Dhabi with Raya, it would probably require 2 full days, because it's very big, and I think it definitely is on that list of kid-friendly destinations.
I want to tell you one thing here. I'll just, if you're going to Abu Dhabi, also try to stay at the Saadiyat Islands.
Why is that?
Because when you stay at the Saadiyat Islands, Neil, you're on the beach and you see deer just coming by on the
Wow.
beach. Imagine Raya's joy when you're there.
But what I was saying was, one thing that is common with Singapore and Abu Dhabi is beach, right? Saadiyat Island or Abu Dhabi have a beach. Singapore at Sentosa Island has a beach. So the next category is about beaches. The top beach destinations of 2024 for you. Here I have one India destination and one world destination. And because I've already thought of it, I guess, can I start?
Go ahead.
So the world destination is not a destination I visited in 2024, but a destination I visited for my honeymoon in 2022, and that was Seychelles, right? I decided to loop this in because whenever everyone thinks of the beach, people think of, I'm saying outside of India, people think of the Maldives, people think of many other things. People don't really give as much importance to Seychelles. It's a very offbeat destination. When we went on our honeymoon, we really had this one rule that we have to go to a place that we haven't been to before. And we also have to go to a place that we probably may not go to again, right? And Seychelles fit the billing. Direct flight again. So, like you said, all of us seem to like direct flights. So, took the direct flight, spent 2 days, or sorry, 3 nights at the main island, and then spent another 2 nights at the Marine National Park at an island resort. One thing I really liked out there is that crystal clear waters, a very small island. People are super nice, and I feel it deserves that honor just because it is raw, it is you're in nature, and because it is just a collection of a few islands, there are some nice treks also. But I would also say that if you are a vegetarian, you should pack well, you should find out about it, and then go to places that you want.
Neil, in Seychelles, some of the beaches are the most photographed and the most beautiful beaches in the world.
Yes, yeah.
So, yeah, they are in the top 10 category of the best photographed beaches in the world.
Yeah, on
So,
the island of La
definitely.
Digue is
Yes.
one of the beaches. Now that was my beach destination for the world. But before I talk about my India destination, I'll come to you. Like,
Sure.
what was a beach destination that you can think of that deserves this honor?
Actually, I have two.
Okay.
And in the two, I would start with the beaches of Bali because I think it's always amazing. And in Indonesia, you can be not just in Bali, so you have a choice of beaches there,
Yeah,
right? Which I
hundreds.
think is like amazing. I mean, choice, you go to Kuta, you go to Nusa Dua, you go to Seminyak, and there is still a different vibe and a different experience. So if you're in the mood for partying, you have a beach. If you're in the mood to just relax by the sea and have a great time with your kids, there's Nusa Dua. You want to party, there's Kuta. You want to do water sports and other things. There are beaches for everything. You want to be away from everyone, and you remember our trip that we did. Take a boat and go to Gili Islands.
Yeah.
And then you're in this fantastic beach with the water is so clear. So I think for me, that always kind of remains as one of my topmost beach destinations. But simply because we're going into the New Year period and we are in December and January, I also want to add one more, which typically people will not think of as a beach destination, but I'm sure you'll agree, is Sydney.
Sydney.
Sydney. You go to Sydney, it's summer out there. So if you want to fulfill your beach craving and a summer holiday, Australia is the place to go right now. And Sydney with Bondi Beach and all the other beaches, it's fantastic. You have the pools by the beach, which also I love. You can do a barbecue on the beach, which is also again exciting. And Christmas on the beach, that's again something that you would not think of. So Christmas, New Year on the beach itself. So I would say Sydney, and super fit people. It's just so much fun to even go there and watch people surfing and, doing so many things, or being in the water yourself. So, yeah, those were my picks.
I'm glad you mentioned that because I would like to elaborate on the pools point.
Yeah.
Because not everyone knows, but when you talk about pools, people often think that a swimming pool is next to the beach. But
Right.
guys, Sydney is one of the few countries in the world where they have built infrastructure in such a way where the swimming pool is actually seawater, and you have many of these ocean pools, as they call it. So you're thinking that you're going into a swimming pool. It has been created, the concrete is such that it's a squarish shape. There will be boards to get in, get out, and all of that. And you'll find many of these ocean pools, and that's what Sunila talks about. And I had not thought of Sydney when we were talking about this category, but yeah, like one of the best cities in the world for the beach. I think one of the most livable cities, although I'm biased towards Melbourne. Sydney is one of the most livable cities, and I think it deserves that top crown.
And the New Year in Sydney. I mean, what else? What more do you want?
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I'll come to my India destination. I think we are talking a lot and we are extending this episode by a lot, but that's fine. It's actually Pondicherry. I think that takes the cake because of two things. One, when you're in Pondicherry, you have the French influence, or Puducherry as it's called now. You have the French influence. The food is amazing, whether you're a vegetarian or a non-vegetarian. And you have a beach where you can learn surfing, and you have a beach where you can just calmly have a stroll. And I feel it definitely takes that cake because it is a mix of everything. I often circle back to the food, but whenever there is a beach, you often think of seafood. And Pondicherry is probably the place where I found a destination which had everything, and the beach is so close to you. So,
And one more point for Pondicherry, especially for all of us who live on the west coast,
Mm-hmm.
you actually see a sunrise on the beach. Otherwise, we associate beaches with sunset simply
Yes.
because we are on the west coast. So for me, waking up early morning, you just get up early because the sun is out there, and walking on the beach, that was quite special.
Yeah, I think that is a very interesting point. We often live on the West Coast and we don't often see that. Okay, next one. Spoke of the beach. You know what's coming next. It's the mountains. Hilly, mountainous destination that comes to your mind. You can't say Georgia because Kazbegi has mountains. Don't think of
Right.
Georgia. What do you think is a place which you think takes the cake when it comes to the top mountain destination of
This is a
2020?
really tough
2024,
one.
yeah.
Very, very tough because I think I have, like, if not tens, at least 20 or 30 mountain destinations I love. But if we have to really pinpoint it, I'll go with the symbol of a mountain which is on a chocolate and which everyone loves. And I'll tell you why I like it, and that is Zermatt. So when you go
The
to
mighty
Zermatt and you see the
Matterhorn.
Matterhorn,
Yeah.
you see it on the Toblerones everywhere, and it is quite popular. And this year it has really become quite popular. But why I love it, Neil, is that Zermatt is car free.
Yes.
So when you get into the city and you're staying at your hotel, you have to go to Tash, and then from Tash you come in to Zermatt, and from Zermatt also connects to the Glacier Express. So you can also do that to Saint Moritz. So
Yeah.
it's all in all, it's just a beautiful destination, and so many hikes. Like you have the Flower Loop, you have, like, you name it, depending on how much you can walk, you have a hike. You have the mountain to go up there and enjoy the gondola. And you did an episode on Zermatt,
Yeah.
and you can actually cross over into another country too, which is Italy. So you can cross over from Switzerland into Italy from the mountain itself. And just the joy of walking car free in a village, breathing fresh air, and having a nice fondue or rosti or some local Swiss delicacies. I think Zermatt tops the list for me. Of course, there are so many others, but for the sake of bringing in one, I would say Zermatt.
When we did the episode on our podcast with Devika Abraham, she took a deep dive and I asked her a
Yeah.
question, Devika, how many times have you been to Switzerland? And she's like, more than 100 times. And I was like, what? Like, I was in shock, but
Yeah.
she took an amazing deep dive. So listeners, if you want to check out that episode, of course, it'll be in the description and you can find out everything about Zermatt, the mighty Matterhorn, and everything that is cool about it. So,
Neil, I think this list is becoming an inspiration for next year as well, right? Because this is our list of what things have really worked. And I think if people go and listen to your podcast, they'll have all the equipment they need to go to Zermatt, enjoy a great holiday next year.
yeah, I think I met someone who listened to one of our episodes that we did at the start of this year. And they said that all of my travels were based on that episode because you
wow.
did a bucket list episode and, it was just
Wow.
easy for us to plan. So hopefully this episode also acts as inspiration.
But your mountain destination now.
I was thinking when you were saying, right? Because there were multiple ones.
Yeah.
I'll say I'll go back to my favorite country in the world, Japan.
Okay.
Mountain destination because Japan has powder snow better than anywhere in the world. If you want to learn how to ski, you can go there. If you want to just enjoy a snowboard ski experience or just play with your family in the mountains, you can go there. And why I say that it's the top destination is because, often Japan is looked at as a country that you only go visit during the cherry blossoms. And 2024 was
That
the
is so
time
wrong.
where
Yeah.
when we were looking at Twitter or X trends or Google trends, we started seeing travelers in India start looking for questions like what does Japan have other than the cherry blossoms? Because everyone goes for the cherry blossoms and people love Japan and they feel like going again, but you don't want to go the second time to see the cherry blossoms, right? So if you love the mountains, go to Japan. We started seeing that happening and this year. And one of the best things is that Japan is a place where one of the biggest mountains is Mount Fuji, right? Not biggest, one of the most popular, as it's called, Fuji-san. But Fuji-san has a replica called Mount Yote in the island of Hokkaido, and you can go check that out. At the same time, there are like ski resorts everywhere all across Japan. And if you look at the period from December, January, and February, from December to January and February, you can find some great mountains out there. So my mountain destination was actually Japan. So, yep, those were the mountains.
Sure.
Should we move on to the next one?
Yes, please.
It's a category you love.
Okay.
It's a thing that, people often ask us. And that question is, I want to take my team members or my organization's employees on a trip. Where should I go? And generally, people think of short haul destinations like Dubai, Singapore, and all of that. But what, according to you, was the top corporate, or as we call it, MICE, meetings, incentives, conferences, and exhibition trips destination of 2024?
I think here I will go with something that's been an evergreen and ever favorite, and that is Dubai. And why I say that is that, again, from depending on the budget of the corporate, there are experiences for everyone.
Yeah.
Like you could be in Burj Al Arab and have a completely high-end private venue. You can land by helicopter on top of that. You can have your luxury 4x4 cars and go off into the desert. But if you don't have that kind of a budget, you can still do it in the budget that you have. It never disappoints anyone, and it ticks off everything that you want to do for an incentive. So, in terms of the conference, there are so many conference venues, such big hotels. So, it's all taken care of really easily. And, I've seen that Indian corporates, when they travel, they love to have an experience of both the local culture there, but also a little bit of Indian culture. So if you want to take in entertainers and you want to take in people for events, it's so easy to fly someone to Dubai, or you already find someone in Dubai already, right? We even had hired like one of those open top buses and taken people on a evening tour of illuminated Dubai as such. And then Burj Khalifa, Burj Al Arab, there's always something new to do, but there's always something familiar about it as well. The food is great, and entertainment is fantastic, and it's a short trip, which is what the corporates need. Of course, there are the long haul destinations, newer players in the incentive market also. But I think if you really needed something to give an award to, I would put Dubai as the
And
best
would you
place.
say that because one, I mean, you mentioned unlimited experiences,
Yeah.
but also we have seen our corporate travel division, in terms of the destinations that different companies have visited, the largest numbers have been to
Yes,
Dubai,
anytime.
right?
I mean, you want to take in 500 people, 1,000 people, it's a no-brainer with the number of flights available, the hotels available, and the other attractions. You can easily just do as big a trip as you want. So, large numbers too.
I quite
It's really
agree.
easy.
And would you agree the destination on my list for this theme was Baku? You think?
Yes.
Would you agree?
100% I would agree.
And then, of course, you have been to Baku. I decided to base this on just the basis of interest and numbers. But why do people keep going to Baku?
Neil, we had a group of 1,200 people to Baku, one of the corporates, and we didn't even realize it was just seamless.
Yeah.
And I think why Baku over the years, probably if you would have asked me the first category a few years back, rising star, I would have said Baku, but Baku is now properly and totally established. And with Baku, again, the city itself is fun. We've done an episode long back on Baku.
Yes.
It does look like Paris quite a bit, but it has the Asian influence as well. You can go off to a mountain resort, Shada, Gabala. You can have snow there as well. And then you can just, enjoy a lot in the city too. So it's not that far, but it still gives you that exotic flavor that you want to your holiday, right?
Yeah.
And the food is great too. Like a pulao is called pilav there. So Shah Pulao is nothing but a biryani or a pulao. But so slight changes from India. You have the Azerbaijani tea, and then you have the dry fruits and so many other things. And it's just a beautiful destination that everyone seems to enjoy. So yeah, definitely Baku, and I think over the years it has grown. Earlier there were some limited hotel choices, but today there are more and more hotels that have come up, and you can do again big numbers to Baku as well. So yeah, for someone who's done Dubai, I guess Baku would be the next place that they
So I
would look
guess
at.
Dubai and Baku, I guess, take this award for
Yes.
the top MICE or corporate destination. The next one is actually about inbound into India. Now, for someone who's unfamiliar with what inbound means, it's foreign travelers coming into India, and we often call it India inbound. So, I wanted our team to have an award or specific mention for that, because one number in all of our organizational reports that we look at is how many foreign tourist arrivals have come into India, and a majority of them come, of course, the maximum come from the country of Bangladesh. But if I were to leave that out, a majority come from USA, UK, Germany, France, Japan, Australia, right? So this award is about the top inbound India destination of 2024, because this was the first year after COVID where foreign tourist arrivals picked up, and foreign tourist arrivals picked up in a major way. So what do you think was that top India destination for them in 24?
Yeah, Neil, I think here I'm not actually going to go by numbers because then we'll end up talking of Rajasthan and Kerala again. So
Correct.
I'm not going to touch the numbers. I would like to give this award in terms of what the destination offers.
Okay,
And
that's
again, I
great.
have two options here.
Okay.
You know, the first one that I have seen and I have noticed, and which has really become popular. And when I was in Singapore for ITB Asia, I did end up mentioning that again and again. So, Neil, either the Buddha's Trail or the Buddhist Circuit are places in Nepal and India mainly, also, where you will see the influence of the Buddha. So typically it starts and ends in Varanasi, and there are quite a few names, so I'm actually going to read it out. And of course, Bodh Gaya would be the most important place. So you can start from Varanasi, go to Bodh Gaya, continue to Rajgir, and then to Nalanda, then to Patna, Vaishali, and Kushinagar, and of course, then on to Lumbini and Shravasti, and then you can come back to Varanasi. So it's actually something I have been really wanting to do. I've done a few places. I've gone to Sarnath, and I just felt something in the place there. Like there were these meditation huts that you can see that they were doing, and it was just so peaceful that I think everyone should do it. In fact, we have some people now coming from Vietnam who want to do that. So
Oh,
that's why I
nice.
thought it would be one of my top lists. And the other place, and I actually have a Spanish person coming in to photograph people here, and that is for the Kumbh Mela. Because
Oh,
that is
yes.
happening now. And, given the changes that are happening with Ayodhya, Prayagraj, Allahabad, I would say Prayagraj and Allahabad would be my next, destination for inbound. Something that you must definitely experience.
Okay. So my destination when I look at inbound
Yeah.
was actually Maharashtra.
Okay.
Because if you think of the major gateway points into India, you have Delhi, Mumbai,
Right.
Kolkata, Chennai, Hyderabad, Bangalore, right? And often people fly into Delhi, do the Golden Triangle, go to Rajasthan, and all of that. But we started seeing more foreign tourist arrivals coming into Mumbai, maybe for work or maybe for leisure purposes, enjoying Mumbai, and then wanting to do maybe the Maratha trail that we have
Right.
recently launched. Check out the forts of Maharashtra. That's because there's so much history, and I think Maharashtra has more than 350 forts, as they call it. Maharashtrian cuisine is something that people come from Southeast Asia to try because it's heavy on spice. And I just felt like outside of Mumbai, there are so many excursions that you can do, not only to the caves, but like crazy amount. So we started seeing a lot of the travelers who came with Veena World ask not only to do Mumbai and check out the film sets of Mumbai, but actually go do a lot of the forts. So that was
Yeah,
my
absolutely.
destination. Yeah. So these were many of the themes that we had lined up. But 2024 was also a year of many firsts, right?
Right.
If I were to ask my dad, he was on our Tanzania Zanzibar
Zanzibar,
tour,
yeah.
and it was only a couple days ago that he was swimming with the dolphins in
That was
Zanzibar.
so amazing, like
Yeah, we had an
insane.
Antarctica or two Antarctica expeditions that,
Three if you count the one in December.
yeah, the one
Yeah,
that will
last year
be
December.
on as this episode
Yes,
launches. We had the first
Arctic cruise.
Arctic icebreaker cruise that we did.
And we had people going to Svalbard for the first time,
Yes,
which was
exactly.
amazing.
And we did that
Yeah.
Svalbard episode
Yes.
also. So, keeping in mind all of these, are there any other honorable mentions that come to your mind or any other themes or categories? And we wanted to leave this very open for you because we know you can come up with quirky awards and quirky themes. So, yeah.
Okay, you know that we could go on for another 1 hour
We have
and
not
keep
discussed food
talking.
at all.
We
So,
haven't
yeah.
even spoken of food, but we've done a lot of episodes, and with every episode we talk of food.
Yeah.
So we'll leave the food aside. I think, Neil, I would like to add two categories. One is the evergreen destination.
Okay.
Where or let me put it, all year round destination.
Okay, yeah.
Some place that would appeal to you all the year round. And here, because I was there in February and I can vouch for it, which was winter, but it was nice sunny skies. It was a little cold. You needed one jacket, a little windy, and that is California. I think it is just stunning all throughout the year. Whenever you want to go, the summers are great, spring, autumn, everything is great. And the winters are mild. They aren't as crazy as the East Coast. So if you're the person who doesn't want to be in snow but wants to have a nice, quiet holiday, then I would say California is great. And then you can combine it with other places in the US and do something. So I had a great time in February, and
I'm
yeah.
glad you mentioned that. If I was just thinking that, what could be my all year round destination, and
You mentioned Kashmir, which already is, but we can expect a different answer.
I would give it to Thailand.
Okay.
I mean, been
Yeah.
there like more than 75 times now or something like that.
Just for the food too, right?
Just,
Yeah.
just for the
For
food, but
everything.
now Phuket Krabi
Yeah.
also are incredible.
Yeah.
A couple of years ago, we went to Chiang Mai, and Chiang Mai was also historical, cultural in many ways. And the reason I call it an year-round destination is not just because the weather is like more or less the same, but you can go there during Songkran, which is the Thai Holi. You can go there during the Lantern Festival to Chiang Mai, Chiang Rai. So Thailand would probably take that. So I'm glad you brought up that theme. What is another theme that you could?
Okay, this is really crazy, and I know you'll probably not even like it, but I was there already, and I thought this award should go to Italy for having the most good-looking people, if there was a category like that. Simply because anywhere and everywhere you look, people look good, and it is quite pleasant on the eyes, and it's perfect for a girlfriend's trip. So all the girls out there, you can take that trip to Italy. I was
Great
in
option for a
Sicily.
bachelorette.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was in Sicily with my girlfriend, and we were having a great time this November actually. And she remarked that if I get a coffee like this every morning, brought to me by a Vincenzo and Antonio, life would be the best always. And it's not just about good looking. I think people in Sicily were just amazing. So I would extend it a little bit and say the best people in the world or something like that. They were so warm, so hospitable. It helped that they looked good, but they were also really, really warm and nice. And anything and everything we said, and we were coming towards the end of the season. Sicily shuts down by November end or mid-November, and the day we were in the hotel was the last day. But Neil, the day we landed, they welcomed us. They upgraded our suite. Everything and anything they did, they were just pampering us throughout. So it was really a beautiful time, and that's why that award goes to Italy.
I'll be honest, I can't think of a destination.
I can think of one for you.
Okay.
If we were thinking of the most good looking women in that sense, well, it does sound a little vain and frivolous, but I think Brazil. To be in Rio and be on the beaches of Rio.
And if you're there during the Rio Carnival, it's even,
Yeah. So
even
all
crazier.
those Veena
right?
people who are going in February, I think they will agree once they come back, because look at the images of Brazil. Sun-tanned bodies, fit bodies.
Yeah.
Just going out there and having caprioshka at 6 in the morning on the beach. I think that's a really good looking
I guess
destination.
on that good looking note, we could end
Yes.
the episode. But because this is the last episode of the year,
Yeah.
what would you like to leave our listeners with?
I think, Neil, we have this whole list here, and I'm sure our listeners have their own list. And maybe there are something else on their mind for next year too. I would say go and make that list now, because unless you put it on a list and unless you put it into the calendar, you'll probably be at the end of December 25 again listening to one more podcast and thinking, oh my God, I didn't even visit all the places that I had planned to. It did happen to me, but I did visit a few new places. I kept changing my list for travel as I went through the year, because you plan and things change. Maybe you can't do everything you plan. But I saw the Nazca lines this year, which was a
Yes.
very special high for me. I went to Peru after a very long time, some 12, 15 years, and I did see the Nazca lines. I went to Svalbard, the northernmost city in the world. So it's like two ends. And I think that really, really stood out for me as two completely different experiences. But it wouldn't have happened if I didn't plan. So, start planning your 25 holiday right now.
Yeah, right now, as in right now, not on the 1st of Jan, just like your fitness resolutions. So I guess thanks a lot, Sunila.
Thank you, Neil.
I'd also like to leave our
Sure,
listeners
of course.
with a message. One is thank you. Thank you
Yeah.
for the entire year. We have done more than 40 episodes this year. And thank you for all of your feedback for Travel, Explore, Celebrate Life, because we keep coming to you with newer episodes just because of the feedback that you give us, whether it's through replies to my newsletter or after listening to an
Or the
episode.
comments.
Yeah, anything. But yeah, thank you for that. We have had an incredible year. We hope you also have had an incredible year celebrating life. We will come to you in 2025 with more exciting episodes. And whatever you have thought of Travel, Explore, Celebrate Life, let us know in the comments, because it's your comments and it's your observations and feedback that make Travel, Explore, Celebrate Life what it is today. We have done more than 100 episodes. We'll probably hit 150 very soon. And I don't think we have run out of topics, because the world is a playground. It's a playground to celebrate life. So, on that note, Merry Christmas to you, a Happy New Year to you and your loved ones, and we will see you in 2025. Bye bye.
Happy New Year. Bye.